We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, at the meeting of Mayor and Council, Monday, February 21st. We have with us today Dr. Harold Thomas III, Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church at 810 Church Street. I'd like to invite Dr. Thomas up now for the invocation and pledge. Will everybody please rise?
All right, let us pray. Gracious God of heaven, thank you for the opportunity to serve and thank you for the gift of life. We invite your presence to abide with us this evening. Please help us to guard our spirit, our actions, and our words. And may your name be glorified in the decisions that are made. Give them wisdom, insight, discernment. Christ, we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for being here with us this evening. Item 2 is agenda changes. We have none. I would like to invite any candidates who are seeking election for our special election for Ward 2 or any other election who are here to come up and speak if they'd like.
Hello. My name is Latonia P. Hines, and I am a candidate for Ward 2. I'm very happy to be here. I've been a 20-year resident of Smyrna, a public servant during that time. I currently work at the Cobb County District Attorney's Office, and I've worked at the Cobb County Solicitor's Office, and also a member of Smyrna Optimist Club and Cobb NAACP, and I'm just happy to be able to have this opportunity to serve in the city that I live in. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Ms. Heather, I know you had some announcements about the upcoming election you'd want to make.
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. On this evening's agenda, we will vote to hold a special election for the vacancy in Ward 2. That will be held on Tuesday, May 24th. We can expect that will be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the First Baptist Church of Smyrna at 1275 Church Street here in Smyrna downtown. That is for Smyrna 2A Ward. Additionally, qualifying for candidates will be held in our Human Resources office at the Smyrna City Hall beginning Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 at 8:30 and ending on Thursday, March 10th at 12:30. The hours for qualifying shall be Tuesday and Wednesday from 8:30 until 4:30 with an hour closed for lunch from 12 to 1, Thursday from 8:30 until 12:30. The qualifying fee shall be $567, which can be paid in cash, personal check, money order, or cashier's check made out to the City of Smyrna. Each candidate must meet the qualifications for office as prescribed by state law and municipal code. Each candidate or his or her designee shall file a notice of candidacy and affidavit, and these forms will be available on the Secretary of State's website and also provided at the time of qualifying. Any city residents interested in the Ward 2 position may call Cobb County Elections at 770-528-2581 or the city clerk's office here in Smyrna at 678-631-5303, and we will be happy to answer questions and assist you with the process. Election and qualifying information can also be found on the city's website under the Your Government tab, Elections.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Item 3 is the mayoral report. I just got a couple of things to mention this evening. Number 1, last Thursday, our Lady Spartan basketball team won their region champ. So that was an awesome game, and they'll move on to the state tournament. And then the Campbell baseball team, who were region champs last year, has already started off 3-0. And between JV and varsity, they're 6-1 combined. So Coach Searcy's doing a great job with that. I wanted to announce that the committee to honor Fannie Williams has been appointed. There are 9 members of that committee, chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Tim Gould. They will meet for the first time tomorrow and begin formulating recommendations to council about how to tell Fannie Williams' story and appropriately honor and memorialize her. And then I also want to thank those who participated and continue to participate in our Racial Trust Building Initiative. That's a program that we started based on a program in LaGrange, and I think we had 38 or so start the program on Saturday and Sunday. Those folks committed several hours to continue that program, and we look forward to great things ahead with the Racial Trust Building Initiative. That concludes my mayoral report. Item 4, land issues, zonings, and annexations. Item 4A, 2021-132. This is a public hearing, zoning request Z21-004. Allow rezoning from future commercial to limited commercial for use as a professional office, 0.25 acres. It's land lot 485 at 1120 Concord Road. Jeremy Robinson. Ms. Penny, any background? She pointed to Joey, so Joey will do the background.
Good evening, Joey Stobbs, Planner 2 with Community Development. This is zoning case Z21-004. Applicant is Jeremy Robinson. Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval by a vote of 7-0 at the January meeting. Subject property is 1120 Concord Road. It's about a quarter of an acre. The current structure is a residential structure. The proposed use is a professional office for an attorney. The existing zoning is future commercial, which designates properties that could be commercial in the future, and the proposed zoning is limited commercial. The future land use for the property is neighborhood activity center. Limited commercial is a allowable zoning district in that land use. As I said, he's going to use the existing structure of the property, just make it ADA compliant and provide parking in the front. So this is the existing building. There's an existing driveway that goes to the garage of the existing structure. They're going to modify the front of the building for parking, and then it'll have 2 access points, one on Concord Road and one on Concord Circle. These are pictures of the subject property and adjacent properties. So staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from future commercial to limited commercial with one condition, that approval of the subject property for the LC zoning shall be conditioned upon the development of the property in substantial compliance with the site plan submitted November 18th, 2021. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Joey?
Yeah, I had just a couple, Mr. Mayor. Joey, what is it, a speculative build for a professional office, or do we know what business is going into it?
Yeah, the applicant is here. He's an attorney. It's going to be an office for an attorney.
Okay. And when we get down the road to it actually being a functioning business, what is the plan for signage on Concord?
He is allowed a 40-square-foot wall sign and a monument sign. He hasn't determined what he's going to do for signage yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Joey? All right, I'd like to invite the applicant up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeremy Robinson.
Our attorney's standing up. That means he needs to swear you in before you talk.
Sure. I do. I'm also an officer of the court, so I'm also sworn in. Thank you. Good evening. Jeremy Robinson, I'm a retired combat Marine. I've been here since Naval Air Station Atlanta. In 2005, I came here directly from Iraq. I've been in and around Smyrna since 2005. I am a personal injury and criminal defense attorney, and it is my hope that you all would approve the zoning for me.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody who wants to speak for or against this item, I'd invite you to be sworn in by attorney. And Scott Cochran, to make a comment now. Come on up if you'd like to say anything. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. This is in Ward 3. I'll turn it over to Councilman Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Joey. Thank you for your service, sir. I've not heard from, and I'm not aware that community development has heard any concerns or complaints, nor have I. So with that, motion do pass as presented.
Have a motion do pass, seconded by Mr. Pickens. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Thank you. Item B, 2021-600. This is a public hearing, zoning request Z21-014. Allow rezoning from GC to MU conditional for the development of 163 multifamily units, 20,409 square feet of commercial and restaurant space, and 7,700 square feet of clubhouse space at a density of 23.5 units per acre, 6.9 acres, land lots 751 and 752, South Cobb Drive and Oakdale Road. This is by Eris Holdings. You want to do the background, or you want to invite?
Do that.
Okay, Ms. Penny's going to do the background.
Eris Holdings is requesting rezoning from GC General Commercial to MU Conditional Mixed Use for the ability to construct a 163 multifamily unit building with 20,409 square feet of commercial restaurant and 7,700 square feet clubhouse space. The subject property is zoned GC and has been used commercially, along with several parcels that remain vacant. Any existing buildings will be demolished for the construction of a new mixed-use development. Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval by a vote of 4-1 at the December 13, 2021 meeting.
Rusty?
Good evening. Eris Holdings is making a request for rezoning from general commercial to mixed-use conditional for the development of a mixed-use development. P&Z recommended approval by a vote of 4-1. The subject property is located on the east side of South Cobb Drive at the intersection of South Cobb Drive and Oakdale Road. It's just under 7 acres in size. There is one existing one-story building on site on the north end of the site. The rest of the property is vacant. The applicant is proposing a mixed-use development with 163 multifamily units, and that'll be over 20,000 square feet of commercial space and an additional 7,000 square feet of community amenity area. The request is going to require rezoning from general commercial to mixed use. The city's future land use map calls this area a community activity center. There'll be no future land use change with this request. It'll remain as a community activity center. This is a proposed site plan for the property. And as you move through it, you have the first large building up at the top is a mixed-use building. There's residential units on that first building, and then retail on the bottom floor of one portion of that building. The second building will be a 4-story building with retail on the bottom and residential on the top 3 floors. And then the smaller building is 5,000 square feet, and it's just commercial in a 1-story building. So here we go. Building number 1 is 132 units, 3,000 square feet of commercial, and then 7,000 square feet of amenity area. And that commercial will be located along the entrance where the entrance in from South Cobb comes in. And the residential will be above. Building 2 will be a 4-story building with 31 units above and almost 12,000 square feet on the bottom floor of commercial space. And then the last is a 1-story, 5,000 square foot building. There is structured parking. It's located at the north end of the site. There's 86 structured parking spaces. It's just a 1-level parking deck. And then the remainder of the site is surface parked with 303 spaces. The main amenity feature for the development is a pool in the courtyard area. And then there's a public art plaza and then a dog park located up here. For the development, they're proposing underground detention So the underground detention will be within the parking area of the development. There will be a 5-foot sidewalk proposed for the length of the property along South Cobb Drive and Oakdale Road, and there'll be connections into the site and through the site. There are full access drives proposed for South Cobb Drive and for Oakdale Road, across from Oakdale Estates Court. And then with these improvements, there's also some transportation improvements. There's a decel lane proposed for the South Cobb or the Oakdale Road entrance. There'll be a full access drive here with a decel lane on South Cobb Drive into the development, and a possible acceleration lane per GDOT approval. And then finally, there's proposed an extension of the existing right-hand turn lane at Oakdale Road as you come onto South Cobb Drive. With this request, there's several variances. The first being a variance for parking reduction from 460 down to 389. They're looking to next eliminate the requirements to have a consistent building edge along public sidewalk. The third request is to allow off-street parking between the building and the right-of-way. The fourth is to allow front setback greater than 20 feet, and the fifth is to allow a side setback greater than 20 feet, and that's on the north end of the property. This is a colored rendering of the proposed site plan, and these are the elevations for building 1. 4-story product, brick on the first 2, different material for the top 2 stories. Siding and probably some ephes. This is building number 2, so you have your commercial on the first floor and residential above. And then this commercial building, a 5,000 square foot building at the intersection of Oakdale Road and South Cobb Drive. And then you have an illustrative rendering of what that looks like from Oakdale Road looking back into the site at the full access entrance. The roadway in the back between the buildings is South Cobb Drive. These are pictures of the subject property. So it's mainly wooded site with one vacant building. And then pictures of the adjacent properties. So you have single-family homes, some commercial development, and multifamily development surrounding the property. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from GC to mixed use for 163 units, 20,000 square feet of commercial space and 7,000 square feet of clubhouse space with the following conditions. These are standard conditions from section 1201. I'm not going to read them out for you, but the first one deals with the composition of the building. Number 2 deals with stormwater management. 3 deals with utilities. 4 requires the developer be responsible for the traffic improvements. 5 requires brick pavers at the entrance. 6 is prohibiting burying of debris on site. 7 requires street lights. 8 requires the development be in accordance with the city's tree ordinance. 9 requires that tree plan to be developed by a registered landscape architect. And 10 requires common areas to be sodded and landscaped as appropriate. Then we added some special conditions. Number 1 deals with the setbacks for the buildings. They're listed there. 12 requires the development to meet all fire access requirements deemed necessary by the fire marshal. 13 requires water and sewer improvements deemed necessary by Public Works Director, and 14 requires the stormwater improvements deemed necessary by the city engineer be provided by the applicant. Number 5 is the requirement for the sidewalk along the public right-of-ways. 16 requires a review of the traffic study by GDOT, the Georgia Department of Transportation, prior to the issuance of the development permit. Number 17 prohibits the development from being gated. 18 requires a dedicated right turn lane or deceleration lane at the entrance on South Cobb Drive, or is otherwise required by GDOT. 19 requires an acceleration lane on South Cobb Drive as well, or is otherwise approved by GDOT. 20 requires a decel lane on Oakdale Road at that entrance. 21 requires a right-hand turn lane on Oakdale Road at South Cobb Drive. 22 requires some signal improvements to install right turn overlaps for the eastbound right turn lane and southbound right turn lane phases at the intersection of Highlands, Parkway, and South Cobb Drive. 23 requires the installation of additional eastbound left turn lane so that the approach provides 2 exclusive left-hand turn lanes, 1 shared left-hand turn lane through, and 1 right turn lane on the intersection of Highlands Parkway and South Cobb Drive. 24, tree removal will be required within the sight distance triangle for the entrances on Oakdale Road. 25, the minimum floor area has to have an average of 940 square feet. 26, the development shall maintain a minimum parking of 389 parking spaces. 27, the parking for commercial, retail, and apartments shall be shared. 28, the parking deck shall provide a decorative brick exterior on the north and east and south elevations that are visible from the right-of-ways. 29, requires all utilities to be screened from view of the public right-of-way. 30 requires dumpsters to be positioned as to prevent visual intrusion from the streets. 31 limits the number of units to 163 Class A apartment units. 32 requires all the units be developed in a Class A manner, and then we have a list of what those interior finishes look like. So 9-foot ceilings, 42-inch cabinets, granite countertops, hard surface countertops, hard surface flooring, stuff like that. In addition, 34 sets the mixture of unit types. So there's 64% 1-bedroom, 34% 2-bedroom, and 2% 3-bedroom. 35 establishes a minimum 10% of the units be designated as workforce housing. 36 ties the approval of the zoning to the site plan submitted on February 2nd. 37, the applicant shall be bound to the conceptual elevations submitted on December 3rd, which were shown in here. And then 38, all structures on the property shall be demolished within 9 months of mayor and council approval. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
That's all you got?
The extensive
38.
list, there's a lot of comments on it. We tried to address them all best we could.
Thanks for all your work on it. Any questions of Rusty?
Yeah, Rusty, a couple questions. Appreciate your review of that and the stipulations. I want to address a little bit about the decel lane on South Cobb particularly and what that looks like. You indicated that, that was going to be based on GDOT approval. Exactly what does that mean? So right now it looks like the proposal is to take over that lane that now merges into South Cobb for that. Are there other options there?
Right. The existing, what was shown in the site plan would be that third outermost lane would turn into the decel lane going into the community. And then as the lane continued through, it'd be striped so it would not be an acceleration lane. I think that was generated off their discussions with GDOT during the process, and I'll let the applicant speak to that. We've made a request to have the decel lane on the outside of the existing lanes. However, it's not our right of way. So if GDOT says it's not an acceptable design, then we have to go with what GDOT approves for that right of way.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Also, just let me see. Can you explain just a little bit? You can go back to it maybe on your slide. Number 22, I believe, was the stipulation, I believe. We can flesh that up if we can.
These were born out of the traffic analysis through Kimley Horn, and I believe these are signal phasing adjustments to increase the right-hand turns onto Highlands Parkway and try to improve that movement through there.
So you're saying, just want to be explicit here exactly as to what that's referring to. Is that just really kind of trying to get the traffic moving along Oakdale Road, Highlands Parkway area with a bit more pacing to keep up with the...
Yeah, because it's that Highlands intersection stacks up back to Oakdale Road, Church Road, South Cobb Drive intersection. And I think they're trying to create some movement through there, and the people that want to make the right turns have the dedicated lanes to be able to do that in signal phasing to adjust for that.
And last question probably for you, at least for me. Just wanted to discuss a little bit about that extra lane that we're adding there on Oakdale, that they're proposing to add there on Oakdale. What is the approximate length of that?
I want to say, and we've had multiple discussions about it, so it's changed, but I think initially it was probably about 150 total.
150 total feet?
Linear feet. So if we want to extend that, I think the applicant has discussed possibly doing that, so we can review that. It looks like there's plenty of acceptable right-of-way in that area to achieve the length that y'all want to see there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Rusty?
Yeah. Rusty, can you go back to the parking spaces for just a minute?
All right.
Mr. Welch?
Oh, the number of parking spaces, I'm sorry.
Oh, 386.
We thought you were contemplating some major announcement there.
I was waiting for the question. I apologize.
That's kind of a standoff going on.
You said 386.
Yeah, total.
And the way I calculated, we got approximately 215 beds per se. Is that about what you're figuring as well?
Yeah, based on the unit rate breakdown.
Okay. And 20,000 square foot of retail?
Yeah.
Do you know right off the top of your head what our number on retail is? I mean, I know they're asking for a variance, and I just want to make sure we're not.
As you have a mixture of uses, the requirement gets smaller. So if it was just a standalone retail, it would be 5.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. But then when you get to a shopping center environment where you have shared parking, it goes to 4.5 spaces per 1,000. But our ordinance doesn't contemplate mixed-use developments with respect to when you have a residential, commercial, and any other kind of use tied into it and what that breakdown comes to. So the applicant can probably speak as to how they came to their final number, and they ultimately have to take this development in they're going to get financing for it, and they got to validate those parking numbers to support the development. So, you know, we lean on them. We try to use our ordinance and make solid, rational decisions as to what's an acceptable level of parking.
Okay. Good enough.
Anybody else have any questions for Rusty?
Quick question. On this, is the commercial aspect of it tied with the residential? Like it has to be built at the same time?
Yeah, I believe the whole site's going to be developed at one time.
Okay.
And then I don't know if that pad will be constructed at the same time everything else is. I would assume so. It'd all be
Okay.
done.
So they can't just build the apartments and then say, oh, we don't want to build the commercial?
No, I mean, most of the commercial is intertwined with the apartment development.
Okay.
So, you know, you've got almost 15,000 square feet of the commercial is in the residential buildings, and then you have 5,000 square feet that is standalone.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Rusty, one question. I know for multifamily buildings, there'll be a management company that maintains the condition of it. Since it's a multi-use, do we require one management company to manage the whole property, or is that up to the property owner?
That'll be up to the property owner. However, you know, for multifamily developments, the city has certain inspection requirements that they have to do on a yearly basis. So they'll have to meet exterior and interior inspection requirements for the multifamily section on its own. And then as far as maintenance and how they work that out, that agreement between the two parties will be a civil issue between the two property owners. I'm sure the applicant will give you clarification on how that's all going to be structured for this development.
One more question. I know there was some discussion regarding the left-hand stacking lane to turn on to South Cobb. Do you know how many cars were available to stack there in that turning lane?
On Oakdale Road to, I think that goes back to Dr. Wheaton's comment. If you extend the right-hand turn lane, you should create more stacking and more people able to get into that left-hand turn lane onto left-hand turn and through lane on that lane specifically, without having people that were going to make a right-hand turn lane tied up in that same queue.
It's either left-hand or left-hand straight or right-hand only?
Right.
Okay.
So if you extend that right-hand turn lane out, you're pulling more people through that light.
Any other questions for Rusty? All right, I'd like to invite the applicant up to be sworn in and then have any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Park Lammerts, and I'm with Aris Holdings. As Rusty said, we are seeking to rezone the 6.92 acres on South Cobb Drive in Oakdale for 163 units and roughly just over 20,000 square feet of commercial space. I think Rusty did a good job of letting you guys know the makeup of the project. We are, it's predominantly kind of geared towards young professionals and empty nesters, a lot of one bedrooms, shared parking, that sort of thing. We are going to have 10% of the units will be workforce housing for nurses, teachers, folks like that. On our numbers, it should be a savings of about 40% on the rent on a monthly amount. The commercial space, our intent really is to create something that's an amenity for the area and not just replicate the commercial that's already there. I think really what we want to focus on the restaurant space are local regional restaurants, kind of unique restaurateurs, and then also on the other commercial space, We're not chasing fast food guys and national chains and that sort of thing. We really want local tenants and coffee shops, markets, things like that will really be a benefit for the area. As far as the commercial, I know that there's been some discussion of what's going to go there, what could go there, and obviously having concerns of not just doing what's there today and not doing tenants that are lower quality. So we would be willing to condition the zoning stipulation where there could be an administrative approval process of the tenant mix. So, you guys can be assured that it will be quality Class A tenants and not, somebody that nobody wants in the area. As far as the traffic, like they said, we are going to install the improvements on Highlands Parkway, which is south of the site. It's somewhat unrelated to the development, but it came up in the traffic study that it's an area that needs improvement. So we will make those, as well as the right turn lane. Councilmember Wheaton, I think you mentioned the right turn on Oakdale Road. We did study that with Kimley Horn, our engineers, and that we really don't have a distance that will be problematic for us, so we can drag that as high as we can up to the entrance on Oakdale, which should create some certainly help the stacking and help get cars through that area. So we humbly ask for your approval here, and certainly are happy to answer any questions you have and try to clarify anything that might still be a little fuzzy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Park. Good to see you here.
Thank you.
A couple questions for you. You kind of hit one of them kind of off the bat, thinking about the right turn lane there.
Sure.
Being able to stretch that back, I think, even to the entrance would be a pretty good idea with appropriate signage and all that stuff.
Yep.
If you're willing for that stipulation, I think that's a pretty...
Absolutely. I think, for everybody's sake, I think limiting the traffic's impacts and making that as fluid as possible is certainly, a benefit for us.
Walk me a little bit through the development here, I guess, thinking about things like location of some of the needs on the community site. So location of dumpsters,
Sure. Yep.
location of mailboxes, all that stuff.
Sure. So the mail will be internal in the clubhouse, so it won't be external on the site. The dumpsters, there will be no dumpsters on site, so it's going to be internal trash. We have chutes, and then they're brought out every time on trash day, so there's not going to be any dumpsters to screen or anything like that.
What about for the commercial sites?
For the commercial, same thing. We're going to have them all internal in the buildings, and we're going to have a breezeway that we can take out, and on trash day, they'll drag them out and they'll pick them up, and we'll put them right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. A question a few people, a few residents asked about this and think it's a good thought of, think about having commercial development. Obviously, that means there's going to be commercial deliveries
Yep.
on site. And certainly concerns about Oakdale Road and having commercial traffic on that road there. Thinking about ways on that property to limit access for some of those commercial trucks and things like that.
Sure.
Limit it to South Cobb instead of Oakdale.
Yeah, I think we we also looked at that with Kimley Horn, and they did kind of a prelim truck turn radius study on our site, and they felt like we could contain all of that coming off of South Cobb to where they wouldn't have to enter or exit on Oakdale, and all the deliveries, because most of our commercial really is focused on Oakdale or on South Cobb, for obvious reasons, for visibility and leasability. So all the loading will occur right there at the entrance to those, kind of the entrance to South Cobb early in the morning before anybody's open. So they feel like we won't have to access Oakdale at all.
Good. And I think, just from just to, kind of formalize what you're saying, I hear that. I think it's important to probably, have something in here that makes that very clear, that, access to commercial uses will be limited to South Cobb, not on Oakdale.
That's fine with us.
For this. Just a couple more things related to the business types and categories here. I think we've discussed this. I see it also in the application, making sure we have good businesses, quality businesses, should this be approved. I think it's, worthwhile probably going through a list of things that, we might want to exclude
Yep.
explicitly,
Yep.
in addition to things that wouldn't fall within the zoning category anyway.
Right.
And we have a list of those, and I'll run through some of these straight away here, and I know clerk will be able to record, and we'll have a record of this. But things like billiard and pool halls, archery, gun ranges, adult novelty shops, adult entertainment shops, gun shops, pawn shops, check cashing, tattoo, body piercing, massage parlors, fast food restaurants. You indicated that
Yep.
in your comments. Vape, smoke, CBD shops,
Yep.
Barbershop salons would be things that I know that several residents have reached out with concerns about
Okay.
in
Yeah,
that space.
I actually had a list here as well that, similar to that. I think I added liquor stores,
Yeah.
nail salons,
Yeah,
arcades,
exactly.
on-site dry cleaners, things like that.
Perfect,
Auto repair
perfect.
shops.
Yeah, so inclusive of all those things, in addition to these, are things that we want to put on the list of things that we would not want as a part of this application. I'll stop there. I know that a few other people probably have a few things, but I'll stop there for now.
Mr. Welch.
You brought this up, so it's not my fault. The little building down in the far south end of the property is
Yes.
what I would assume we want to be a restaurant.
More retail.
Man, I don't know how in the world you're gonna get a delivery truck in and out of there.
I think, well, the way we studied it is, you can come in, we don't have a good visual of the site, but when you come in off South Cobb Drive, because I thought the same thing, like, do we have to come up and circle around the north side to get down there? The way they studied is they could come in, take that immediate right, there was a wide enough bearing, and they could go around and basically to the north side of that little building, they are able to stop right there, that's the back door load, and then they can actually make that turn around and come back out South Cobb. We walked through the same thing. We thought, are they gonna have to walk from the bottom of that building over to get there? But they seemed to think there was no issues, so.
Excuse me, Heather, is it possible to bring up the overview plan so we can?
Yeah, sure, I don't know. Can we?
Do it up there.
Oh. There we go. So if you look, when you enter off South Cobb Drive, you obviously have the building over to the right or the south on the site. They can make that immediate right turn, go over, and then go, which it would be kind of east, but it's to the top of the site along the building, on the west side of that building, and then make the turn to do a loop and come over on the right side of the smaller building, on the smaller multifamily building, and then exit kind of at the same place on South Cobb. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And obviously we've got to go through all, yeah. Sure, we've got to go through a lot of, obviously when we get into civil,
Yeah, for clarification, we've required them to do a turning model with our specifications for our ladder truck. So the ladder truck can maneuver through this site. So the idea is the sanitation trucks and the delivery truck should be able to handle it.
Okay, I'm looking at a 6-inch version there too, I understand, so.
yeah.
That's all I have, thank you.
I have a question. Can you describe what the retaining wall is going to look like? That's going to be, I believe it's on Oakdale Road and on South Cobb Drive?
Sure, it's actually going to be, it's going to drop the site, so it'll be internal, the retaining wall, so it won't, when you're driving, you won't see a retaining wall. It's going to kind of be an actual dip in the site. It's typically one of these things where we get into it, we'll submit drawings to the building department and the review process, and they'll comment, and if there needs to be any, decorative, fixations or anything, then we'll get that at the time that we submit those drawings. Review, yeah.
Thank you.
Couple questions for you. Could you just talk about the property management of the whole site? I
Sure,
mean, you
yeah,
have
yeah, that did come up.
multi-use, and then I know it's really for one of these key things is it's a long-term maintenance that can
Yeah,
really
sure,
make
sure.
this an asset to the
Right,
community
right.
down there.
I totally understand. So all of our projects are managed by First Communities, which they're a large national apartment manager. On the residential side, we own through, I think now it's about 3 million square feet of retail. So we will manage the commercial portion, and then they will manage the multifamily portion,
Gotcha, okay.
separate management companies.
And then on the multifamily, saw nice renderings and then quite a few balconies. What kind of requirements do you have about what can be on those balconies? Because it ends up being a highly visible
Right, yeah.
property.
We have typical, I mean, this is a Class A plus building with pretty high rents. So we obviously have very strict, I mean, there's fire sensibilities of things you can't do on the buildings, as well as, we don't let people hang towels off of there and things like that. I mean, we keep them pretty clean. It's just in our lease agreements.
Gotcha.
That you can't just,
You may have said this before, but do the buildings have elevators?
They do, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank
They're
you.
elevator serviced.
What's the projected rent?
I think it ranges from about 1,800 to 2,900. So they're pretty.
I know you worked hard on green space, right? So if you're coming north on South Cobb, your property's on the right-hand side.
Yep.
The corner, you face your out parcel there, right, where the restaurant will be.
Yep.
That's really a key piece of the
Yep.
property, right?
Yep.
That's anybody heading north, that's what the first thing they're going to see there. Could you describe what you expect to put right there on the
So,
corner?
I mean, we would obviously landscape it, and we spoke about this. I think one thing that we would be willing to also concede here is that, typically we don't get into landscape plans until further along in the civil design after zoning. But what we've done in other instances is we would be willing to make it a stip that we could somehow, whether it's administratively or through the planning department, have an approval process for the landscape plans. So it can be, I mean, we're obviously going to do some pretty heavy landscaping there for visual appeal for us and for the city and for everybody, just because we want it to look nice. So we would also be willing to.
Do you expect to have like a monument there at all, or anything facing as you head north,
I think, we kind of looked at it. We initially had the public art there, but we just felt like it was something that we really wanted to internalize for people to have walkability and just kind of enjoy it more. We could potentially put something out there if it was, available through code and we were allowed to. I think we'd be willing to do it.
I'd appreciate if to do the stipulation for the landscape plan.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that'd be,
Yeah, that's fine.
and have Rusty's group review that and approve it. Thanks.
But following up on Councilman Gould, is part of that a willingness to put in as mature trees as you can?
Right, yeah.
Often we see
A little
massive trees
sapling
taken
and-
down and
Yep.
sprigs put in, so I think that would be much more attractive.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have a question of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anybody who'd like to speak for or against this item, I'd like you to come up now and be sworn in by our city attorney. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. I'm Mary Rose Barnes. I'm the case manager for this zoning with Oakdale Community Association, and I live at 4756 Oakdale Road.
Ma'am, can you move the microphone over so everybody can? There we go.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
I live at 4756 Oakdale Road, very near this site. Oakdale Board, OCA Board, joins with nearby neighbors in opposition to this application. It is incompatible with the character of Oakdale and would needlessly exacerbate the present traffic glut. You will note that the traffic study did not include additional traffic increase from the upcoming nearby Northside Hospital facility. We share concerns with traffic congestion, a needless commercial access onto County Oakdale Road, the imposition of more apartments, and an unscreened wall that would create a barricade project. It was an affront to the neighbors that the applicant would actually request 9 months to demolish a derelict structure that should have been condemned years ago. That area has had to be cleared of vagrants in the past. Applicants' earlier contention with the planning commission meeting, mentioned the fact that it could be possibly converted, the apartments could be converted to condos. If the present red-hot market improves. That statement was misleading at best. Condos would have to be combined with the commercial entities under a shared association with shared covenants for upkeep for the shared private roads, lights, underground detention, utilities, etc. As we understand it, the City of Smyrna policy requires that major changes must come through later in the zoning hearings. This project, if approved, would simply be apartments sharing space with a shopping center indefinitely. In spite of staff recommendations that the XL and DCL lanes be removed from the lane of South Cobb Drive, the revised site plan depicts the applicant's plans to confiscate a section of the lane of the state highway for their own purposes. Not only would this circumstance cause a permanent, unimaginable traffic nightmare, but it would inhibit any future plans to widen South Cobb Drive. It is unthinkable that GDOT would approve existing relinquishing a part of the state highway, but it's exactly what the applicant has asked for. And I have a question mentioning, I think the comment was that commercial access will be on South Cobb Drive and Oakdale Road. It would be residential, am I correct? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, that was one of the things we discussed in the stipulations.
How would you divide that? How would you determine if somebody's going to go home and they're going to go to a restaurant, how would you keep commercial traffic off of Oakdale Road?
Yeah, what we were discussing there was like commercial truck deliveries, things like that. We weren't talking about people.
You're not talking about normal. You're not
Right,
talking
we're not
about
talking
commercial traffic. Okay,
correct,
I understand.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
I understand now. It would seem counterproductive to accept a proposal that was asking for abandonment of a part of a state highway. It is very unlikely that GDOT would approve that. To that end, OCA respectfully requests that Mayor and Council can deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your
Mr. Mayor, I
comments.
had a clarification. Can you tell me the association that you're referring
Oakdale
to?
Community Association.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else that wishes to speak for or against this item, please come up and be sworn in now.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening. My name is William Forbes. I live at 2168 Oakdale Estates Court. We are directly across from where this proposed development is. I'm adamantly opposed to it because, first, traffic is bad enough on Oakdale Road, and I have not seen anything in this application that takes into consideration that the traffic light that Smyrna controls at Oakdale Road and South Cobb Drive will allow more than one car to go through that light. There have been numerous times I was the only car in the lane, and the light was red before I got all the way through the intersection. Next, within 500 feet of this proposed development, there are 170 already a 216 unit apartment complex. It is not fully occupied. I called them today and they have occupancy. About another 200 feet away, there's another 170. Then you go 3/4 of a mile from this development, there are over 1,900 units. We do not need more apartments because the problem with apartments is there's no sense of ownership, there's no pride in where you live, which will detract from the home values of the people, the townhouses and the single-family homes that are all along Oakdale Road. So, and if you go even farther out, there are over 20 apartment complexes and 5,000 units within 2 miles of this planned development. We don't need more apartments. We need townhouses. We need affordable houses that millennials can afford to move into. Additionally, there are open I mean, they just built 313 units in the West Village. Why do we need another 163? They do not have full occupancy. Where are all these people coming from? They're going to be able to afford an $1,800 rent. I mean, where are these jobs? So I respectfully request that you say no, because Oakdale Road's already a mess. I haven't seen a traffic study. I've not seen them measure how many cars go along Oakdale Road. I've been told by both city and county police that because of how the city and county property lines move, no one knows where the jurisdiction starts and stops. So people speed on that road going 45, 50, and you're going to put a no left turn lane into this development on a blind curve? I mean, this whole plan needs to be thrown out and they need to start over. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Anybody else want to speak for or against this item? I'm going to ask if there's anybody else, y'all come up all at once and get sworn in, please. Anybody else want to speak? Y'all, hold on just a moment. We're going to get the others who want to speak after you, and we're going to have everybody sworn in now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Drew Robidoux, and I was here to the meeting in January, I believe. And I live directly across from this entrance that they're proposing on Oakdale Road. I'm on the corner. I was never, ever notified to begin with that there was a proposal for a building. And that was very shocking when I first heard about it. But beyond that, the biggest problem I have with the units is, number one, we don't need more apartments. I mean, that's pretty obvious if you've been around the area. But the other thing is the traffic problem is not going to be solved. It's only going to get worse. I watch out my window, the traffic backs up past my house going north on Oakdale Road. And it's true, the light signal is horrible. It only lets 1 or 2 cars go through at a time. And then you have the people coming off of Church Road. They want to make a right, and there's no right. It doesn't allow for a right turn on red, but they do it anyway. And several times I have almost been hit by a car coming out and going straight across because they don't pay any attention to it. So it's just not a good thing. And my biggest concern is don't put any more traffic on Oakdale Road at all. They don't need another entrance onto Oakdale. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next. State your name and address for the record, please.
Glenn Parrish, 2159 Oakdale Estates Court, right off of Oakdale Road. I've been a resident in the city of Smyrna for 15 years now. I've enjoyed living here, but I have seen the traffic on Oakdale Road increase dramatically year after year. Not only is it local traffic and the concerns with some of this new development and what's already there. When 285 backs up and it's going to take you 30 minutes to get from South Atlanta Road to the I-20 intersection, which we all know is woefully inadequate to believe anyway, traffic will back up on Oakdale Road perhaps almost a mile going up the road to where the railroad tracks used to be before that was abandoned by CSX, or the rail line that had it before. You can't even make a left-hand turn out of our subdivision because nobody allows you to get onto the road. Then you get to the traffic light. Last night, we were going to order dinner from Buffalo, or Ted Bison, okay. We were told there was an hour wait, so we opted not to do that. So we just went down to Zaxby's on South Cobb Drive. 3 cars got out of the light with no traffic at all on South Cobb Drive to speak of, nobody getting onto Highland Parkway. That was the best I've ever seen it. In 15 years, the 3 cars got through a traffic light. We can't have more traffic on that roadway. The infrastructure simply cannot handle it. So I vehemently am against this new development, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Chris Weifel, 3289 Lee Street. I support this development for a simple reason. We need more housing for our city, our county, our state, and our country. Too few houses and homes are being built to meet demand. According to the National Association of Realtors, the U.S. supply of housing is 7 million homes in the hole. That's a deep hole to build out of. Home prices and rents are surging. The AJC reported recently that home prices in Metro Atlanta were up 22.5% from a year ago. Similar numbers are reported by NAR across the nation. Additionally, the Atlanta Regional Commission forecasts Metro Atlanta's population growing 51% by 2050, with Cobb County adding 300,000 residents alone. We need more housing to meet this demand, and we are already behind. This mixed-use development increases the supply of homes in our community. I hope this council will take a broader perspective on these housing questions and recognize that the lack of housing is ultimately bad for Smyrna, Cobb, Georgia, and America. Thanks.
I believe that was the last speaker. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. This is in Ward 7. I'll turn it over to Dr. Wheaton.
Yes, Rusty, if you could, just a point of clarification. A few residents reached out about this, and glad a few came out tonight to address specifically the timing of the light sequence there, Oakdale and South Cobb. We've had conversations with the county. I know, I guess maybe about a year and a half ago, we did that improvement project on that intersection there, which helped certain aspects of it. But can you talk a little bit about any light signal improvements that could be made specifically there, how that would work?
Unfortunately, I can't. I mean, that's out of engineering to handle transportation. I know they're going to have to coordinate with GDOT on any improvements or any changes to the signal phasing, because it's ultimately their state right away. They have specific goals that they're trying to achieve with moving people through the area and everything else. So I guess the balance is trying to align our goals with their goals to try to maximize that as much as possible. But unfortunately, I don't know the nuts and bolts of how all that is handled. That's done through our engineering department.
Rusty, if I could just ask that, I know it's not your area, but just for point of clarification, because a resident mentioned that they think the light is completely under the city of Smyrna's control. And just to be clear, it's a complicated intersection, but so we can't unilaterally make a timing change there, right?
Right.
So on the other hand, the light near the end of where I live, it was a 2, 1, 2, maybe 3 car, and it's completely frustrating because you can't get out. And so I empathize with the residents who have to deal with that. But so I would just recommend, Mr. Mayor, if we can get the city engineer to look at that, because it's an impactful
when we get those type of issues, we take those requests to the state and say, hey, this is what we're finding, and this is the issue, and then we work with them to address those concerns.
So,
Mr. Welch.
Rusty, you may not know the answer to this, but do you know, is there a connecting drive coming off of the new medical park onto Oakdale Road?
I'm not familiar with that development, so I don't know if it's connecting. I'm sure there may be a connection or an access point over there.
Based on what's cleared out there now, there doesn't appear to be any of that property that connects with Oakdale Road, but I didn't know if there's something that you knew that I didn't.
We can look at that, and I'll get you information on that.
Can I ask Corky to repeat what he said, because I couldn't hear it, and it seems like important information.
Repeat your question for Ms. Wilkins.
The question was, is there a connecting drive off of the new Northside Medical Park to Oakdale Road?
That's a development at the intersection of Cumberland Parkway and Atlanta Road right there.
Most certainly, there'll be,
yeah.
yeah, that'll be,
So,
yeah, most certainly.
I believe there is, but it's been a while since that project's been approved by the county.
Okay. All right, Dr. Wheaton. Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has certainly been, a really good discussion. I really appreciate the residents that have reached out, not and presented not just today, but over the last couple of weeks. I think, there's raising of one specific issue that I think is really important that, connects in general, regardless of this proposal moving forward or not, and that's addressing the opportunity to look at Oakdale and South Cobb Drive to improve that light sequence there. I think that's an obvious pain point that we can address regardless of this, and that's a good conversation for another time, and certainly very soon to have that conversation moving forward. I think looking at the proposal here and just kind of contemplating certain aspects of it, I think that there's a lot of potential upside to this proposal. I'll say, just a point of personal privilege, I guess. When I first moved to this area, we actually lived at those apartments there in West Village for about a year. And that's what really excited me about living in this area. I got inspired to want to live here because my kids my son at the time, just one, went to Nickajack, and we certainly loved the area. Really fell in love with the space and wanted to be a part of the Smyrna community. We'll move over, I guess, to the Smyrna community as a result of living there, and it was really exciting. And so, thinking about a development that can, have a workforce housing component to it, that really does focus on bringing young energy into the area, bringing in kind of the millennials, as the applicant mentioned, that kind of thing I think it's a good opportunity here. So with all of that being said, we have a long list of things that, I think were great from the discussion, but I would like to make a motion to approve item 4B 2021-600, zoning request 721-014, but with the following stipulations, as I think we've addressed, and I'll just run through them here. Certainly the limitations on the commercial uses that we've already enumerated, I think that have already been recorded. No commercial and truck traffic onto the site off of Oakdale Road, extending the right turn on the South Cobb on Oakdale Road from the entrance of the facility, entrance of the development down to the area. Park landscaping plan that will be reviewed on with a property frontage that's facing South Cobb Drive, and also placing mature trees on site and have that approved through our staff.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Gould. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-1 with Councilmember Wilkinson voting in the negative. Thank you. Before we move on to item C, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege. I just got a text from my wife that my kids are watching this. They might be the only ones live streamed, and they're about to go to bed, so this is probably helping them go to sleep. But we had a big event in our house. My daughter Sam lost her first tooth today, and it was a kind of a trying 2 weeks as she dealt with this scary thing, and she was very brave today. And I just want to tell you, Sam, I'm real proud of you, and I think that you still have the prettiest smile in the world. And I want to say thank you to Jack, her little brother, for being so supportive. I love you. I hope you sleep good. All right, we're moving on to item C, Resolution 2022-08, approval of Resolution 2022-08 for the funding and submittal of an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for participation in the 2022 Livable Centers Initiative Grant Program for the development of a South Cobb Drive corridor study in the amount of $40,000, which is a 20% local match by the city, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Penny, the background, please.
The Community Development Department is seeking approval for a funding resolution in the amount of $40,000 to submit an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission to participate in the 2022 Livable Cities Centers Initiative Grant Program for the development of the South Cobb Drive Corridor Study. The proposed study area would encompass parcels along or near South Cobb Drive from Oakdale Drive, Lake Court to Pat Mel Road. The study is intended to create a master plan to advance affordable housing, creative placemaking, transit, green infrastructure, and smart city technology. Community Development is applying for a total grant in the amount of $200,000 for the study. Participation in the grant program would require a local match of 20% by the city for a total match amount of $40,000. Community Development recommends approval of the Resolution 2022-08 for the funding and submittal of an application to the Atlanta Regional Commission for participation in the 2022 Livable City Centers Initiative Grant Program for the development of a South Cobb Drive Corridor Study in the amount of $40,000, a 20% local match by the city, and to authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Lindley, seconded by Mr. Pickens. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Thank you. Item 5 is privileged licenses. We have none. Item 6 is formal business. 6A, Resolution 2022-06, calling for a special election for the Ward 2 council seat, setting qualifying dates, setting a qualifying fee of $567, approval for the city to enter into a contract with the Cobb County Board of Elections for the primary election May 24, 2022, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. This is for the Ward 2 vacant seat. Is there anything you want to add to what I've already read?
Just that the city will hold and supervise the special election during the state primary election, May 24th, 2022. Qualifying dates, March 8th through the 9th, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with an hour for lunch, 12 to 1. March 10th, 2022, from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. And a qualifying fee is set at $567, 3% of the gross salary of the office.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion do pass as presented.
Have a motion seconded by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Item B, 2021-569, approval to award RFP 22-017 to TSW Design at 1447 Peachtree Street Northeast, Suite 850, Atlanta, Georgia 30309, to provide design, documentation, and construction administration services for renovation of the library's existing 5 public restrooms using $49,950 Smyrna CDBG public facilities balance, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri, the background, please.
The City of Smyrna has requested qualifications and cost proposals from firms to provide design, documentation, and construction administration services for the renovation of the library's existing 5 public restrooms. The proposed work includes energy-efficient design for 2 men's, 2 women's, and 1 family restroom to bring the facilities up to code and in compliance with ADA regulations. This project will be funded by Community Development Block Grant funds. 3 firms submitted, and the proposals were ranked by selected city staff. Based on the score of the firm's proposal and qualifications, it's our recommendation to award this project to TSW. Smyrna Library Purchasing Department recommend approval to award to TSW to provide design, documentation, construction administration using $49,950 of the CDBG public facilities balance, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? If not, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Masheri, for that extensive background. In short, long overdue upgrade at our library, what will end up being 5 bathrooms in total. With that, motion do pass.
Have a motion seconded by Mr. Pickens. All those in favor, please vote. It's approved 6-0. Thank you. Item C, 2022-070. Approval to award RFP 22-018 for Rebuilding Together Atlanta 3060 Peachtree Road Northwest, Suite 1810, Atlanta, Georgia, 30305, for program development, administration, case management, construction management, and other services necessary to establish and maintain the city's community development block grant home repair grant program using $62,500, which includes grant funds and administration fee from CDBG public facilities balance, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri.
The City of Smyrna received proposals for program development, administration, case management, construction management, and other services necessary to establish and maintain a CDBG home repair grant program. The city has allocated $50,000 in funds to assist homeowners with grants for home repairs and administration. Rebuilding Together Atlanta was the selected firm. They have similar experience working for the City of Atlanta and Veterans at Home program. The administration of program fee would be $12,500, bringing the project total to $62,500. Staff recommends approval as read in the agenda title above.
Thank you, Ms. Masheri. Any discussion on this item? Not, I'll turn it over to Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In layman's terms, this will allow us to go into a private residence that is in much need of repair and help with making those repairs inside a private home. It is competitive, but I think it's certainly a worthy cause, and it'll just allow the city to do that with CDBG funds. So I make a motion to approve item 6C 2022-070.
Have a
May I
motion.
say something while the motion is open? Can I say something?
You may, and I'll remind everybody, if you would like to speak, please hit your button, but yes.
Oh, sorry.
Ms. Wilkinson.
I just also want to say I'm very excited about this program. I was introduced to these people from this program several years ago when they were working on a home just outside of Smyrna city limits. And then since then, they have actually worked with a home in Ward 5 and with a homeowner that was a veteran and that he was also disabled, and he needed help with his home, with his deck and some other things, and they actually applied for a grant through the Veterans Administration, and then through some volunteers with the city, they were able to do with that grant and their volunteers and some volunteers, they were able to do some things that were needed for a citizen of Ward 5, and things like repairing his deck and putting in grab bars in his bathroom and some other things. So anyway, I'm very excited about this program coming to the city.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. We have a motion by Mr. Welch, seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 6-0. Item D, 2022-049, approval to authorize Croi Engineering for fiscal year 2022 water line design and engineering services in the amount of $148,800 for Doe Skin and Green Forest area, Lake Court area, and Spring Road area. Ms. Masheri, the background, please.
Public Works has budgeted $150,000 for water sewer design projects to achieve the goal of upgrading all water and sewer lines. Croi Engineering has submitted proposals for design and engineering services for the following areas: Doe Skin and Green Forest area, $50,000, Lake Court area, $47,300, and the Spring Road area, $51,500, for a total of $148,800. It's the recommendation of Purchasing and Public Works that we approve and authorize Croi Engineering for fiscal year 2022 waterline design and engineering services in the amount of $148,000, and to have the mayor sign and execute all related documents.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll turn it over to Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve item 6D 2022-049.
Have a motion, seconded by Mr. Gould. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Item E, 2022-079. Get ready, y'all. This is a little bit of a long one. Authorization for the city or downtown development authority to enter into a yearly lease agreement with a 3-year renewal option with Glock at Highland Overlook for 6,400 square feet of space located at 1100 Wilson Way, Suite 400, Smyrna, Georgia, 30082, for the purpose of creating a law enforcement training facility with an annual lease cost of $85,000 and an initial estimated upfront cost to renovate the facility of $100,000, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Additionally, authorization of a budget amendment to the adopted fiscal year 2022 budget in the amount of $30,000 taken from the general fund reserves and added to police administration rental of buildings to cover the lease and operational costs for the remainder of fiscal year 2022, and an amendment to establish a project in the ARPA fund in the amount of $67,000 to fund the upfront renovation costs. $33,000 of renovation will be covered using police forfeiture funds, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Michelle, any background? And I believe we talked in pre-council about the cost of renovating the facility, and the build-out would be backed out of the rent over time by the property owner. So, any background?
This one's a long one, too. The police department will have a critical need for a facility to conduct law enforcement training once the existing structure has been removed on Atlanta Road. 1100 Wilson Way, Suite 400 has been offered as a possible solution to create a new and improved law enforcement training center. The building, located off of Highlands Parkway on the south end of the city, has 6,400 square feet of usable space. It incorporates 4 offices, a room for firearms training simulator, a 40-student classroom, a 3,400 square feet of unfinished warehouse space. This can be used for defensive tactics training and other simulated training needs to maintain a highly competent and well-trained workforce. This venue creates a footprint for law enforcement on the south end of the city. Officers training and utilizing the space places officers in strategic locations for a variety of service needs, presence, response times, handling local criminal issues confined to the south end, etc. Additionally, it can be used as a marketing effort to attract and recruit new workforce talent and serve as a south precinct if needed. The facility will need some upgrades for security, internet, door access, paint, flooring, furniture, HVAC. Total cost to move in will be $100,000, an annual cost of $85,000, and is available for a lease up to 3 years. Staff recommendation is as the title that the mayor read previously. It's a long one.
Thank you. So this is a good opportunity for us, particularly to have a police presence in Ward 7. Currently, some of the police training that goes on in the building between the community center and the police department that will be demolished soon to build the parking deck. Those training exercises, that will all be moved to this new facility. I know the chief is here, and the new facility will offer a lot more than what we currently have. So it'll be great for our officers and great for the area. Any discussion on this item? This is in Ward 7. I'll turn it over to Dr. Wheaton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question for clarification, if I can ask the chief to come up and just mention a little bit about, we talk about training, exactly what type of law enforcement training goes on in this type of facility.
Sure. So currently, the space that we use now, we have our firearms simulator, which is scenario-based training for all of our officers that they come through annually. We also use it for our Citizens Police Academy so that they get an idea of what kind of things police officers face on a daily basis out here on the road. And this new facility will also give us expanded floor space for defensive tactics training. So as we integrate more of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training that's gotten a lot of positive feedback through Marietta, as we integrate all of that into our training, we'll have more space to be able to do that and do it effectively.
Thank you. I think this is certainly an exciting opportunity. A lot of the residents in Ward 7 have wanted some more presence, and I think the ability to have more presence, plus also training our officers to be better at their jobs, plus the ability to have outreach to the community that way is just an added plus. And so with that, I make a motion to approve item 6E, 2022-079 as previously read.
Have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Item F is next. Before we do that, Chief, do you want to come back up and give us an example of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you're going to be doing there?
Next meeting.
All right, I'm going to hold you to it. Item F, 2022-084. approval to award RFP 21-015 full-service janitorial contract to the second bidder, General Building Maintenance, Inc. of 3835 Presidential Parkway, number 200, Atlanta, Georgia 30340, in the amount of $175,823.40, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri, the brief background, please.
The request for proposal for the full-service janitorial contract was initially awarded to the American Facility Services in July of 2021 with a start date of August 1st, 2021. This janitorial contract is a full-service agreement that provides janitorial services for City Hall, Library, Police Administration, Bronner Hall, Fire Station 1, Recycling Center, Wolf Center, and the Community Center. The review team ranked American Facility Services as the highest ranking firm based on providing comparable services to many public agencies. General Building Maintenance Incorporated was ranked second during that process. Since the start of the contract with American Facility, there have been constant issues due to staffing and GCIC compliance. On February 14, 2022, the contractually required 30-day notice was given to terminate the contract. City purchasing staff began negotiations with the second bidder, General Building Maintenance, Inc., about taking over janitorial services. General Building Maintenance will begin services March 21st, 2022. Building and Grounds and Purchasing recommend approval to award RFP 21-015 as detailed in the agenda title above.
Thank you, Ms. Masheri. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Lindley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion do pass as presented.
Have a motion, seconded by Dr. Wheaton. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Got three more items. Item G, ordinance 2022-02, approval for the amendment to section 102-58, hydrant obstruction, maintenance, and testing, providing for the operating procedures for private fire hydrants, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri.
This is a request from Public Works to create and add an ordinance covering standard operating procedures for private fire hydrants. The proposed ordinance includes the specifications and other requirements, as well as the maintenance and testing requirements for private fire hydrants. Public Works staff recommends approval of ordinance 2022-02 as detailed and previously read in the title.
Ms. Wilkinson.
Yes, at this time, I would like to move to approve item 6G, ordinance 2022-02, approval of ordinance for the amendment to section 102-58, hydrant obstruction, maintenance, and testing, providing for the operating procedures for private fire hydrants, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents.
I have a motion by Ms. Wilkinson, seconded by Mr. Pickens. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Item H, ordinance 2022-06, for the amendment to Appendix D, Section 5I, to increase the minimum size for continuous copper tubing for service lines from 3/4 inch to 1 inch, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri.
This is a request from Public Works to amend an existing ordinance. Currently, Appendix D, Section 5I provides that service lines must be a minimum of 3/4 inch Type K continuous copper tubing. Public Works has requested that this be changed to require an increased size of 1 inch. All remaining provisions remain unchanged. Public Works staff recommends approval of the ordinance 2022-06 as read in the title above.
I'll turn this over to Mr. Welch. As we talked about earlier, this is not something that the city does often. It's more developer that does this, and will have the responsibility for the cost, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 6H, ordinance 2022-06.
I have a motion seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 6-0. Last item under formal business, item I, 2022-090, authorization to enter into a contractual agreement with Butler Snow LLP, 1020 Highland Colony Parkway, Suite 1400, Ridgeland, Mississippi, 39157 for the performance of legal services related to the upcoming redistricting plan for the 7 wards of Smyrna, Georgia, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Ms. Masheri, the background.
The 2020 census will require redistricting in the city of Smyrna. The city wishes to contract with Butler Snow LLP to conduct these services as outlined and in the attached contractual agreement. Scope of services. Butler Snow will provide special legal services to the city as follows. 1, advise counsel on current legal issues and related law pertaining to redistricting. 2, review and analyze current redistricting plan for the city and advise as to the related legal issues and develop benchmark plan for same. 3, prepare and draw a draft map for council and hold a minimum of 1 public hearing to obtain input from public of proposed map or maps. 5, present final map to council for adoption. And 6, generally render all legal advice necessary for the proper preparation, adoption, and approval of any redistricting plans, including the ability to hire consulting experts if needed, the preparation of legal descriptions, and any related litigation. It also includes a period of performance. The term of this agreement shall commence on the date it is approved by council and executed by mayor, and shall expire when Butler Snow completes the scope of services. And the relationship of parties, it is expressly understood and agreed that Butler Snow is an independent contractor and that the purchase of legal services is not based on an employer-employee relationship. Staff recommends approval of item number 2022-090 as read previously.
Thank you, Ms. Masheri. This is something we go through every 10 years with the census, and we've had population change here, so Butler Snow would help us to draw the new maps. Any discussion on this issue, council? Okay, turn it over to Mr. Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion do pass as presented.
Have a motion seconded by Mr. Pickens. All those in favor, please vote. And that's approved 5-1 with Ms. Wilkinson voting in the negative. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Ms. Masheri, can you please read the consent agenda for council approval?
Yes. MIN 2022-07, approval of the February 3rd, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. MIM 2022-08, approval of the February 7, 2022 pre-council meeting minutes. MIN 2022-09, approval of the February 7, 2022 mayor and council meeting minutes. Item number 2022-082, ratify and approve a road closure on Windy Hill Road at Burbank Circle for the revised dates of February 14 through 16, 2022, for the construction of the Windy Hill Boulevard improvements. Item 2022-083, approval for Atkins Park and Sukkah through Redbird Events to hold the 19th annual St. Patrick's Day celebrations, 3 days of festival in the Market Village taking place in 2022 on Thursday, March 17 from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m., outdoor music ending at 10. Friday, March 18th from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m. with outdoor music ending at 10. And Saturday, March 19th from 11 a.m. until 11 p.m., outdoor music ending at 10, with setup beginning on the afternoon of Wednesday, March 16th, and all event festival items removed or out of sight by midnight Saturday, March 19th, for pickup on Sunday, March 2022. Approval of item 2022-022, approval for the purchase of Scba Cascade air system for the fire department from Municipal Emergency Services, 6710 C North Park Boulevard, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28216, in the amount of $53,980.71 to be funded from the FY22 capital improvement projects, and authorize the mayor to sign and execute all related documents. Item 2022-039, approval to award RFQ 22-02, site improvements at Durham Park and Taylor Brana Park to the lowest bidder, Ashford Gardeners, located at 16040 Birmingham Highway, Milton, Georgia, 30004, for $169,188, and to authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Additionally, authorization to amend the FY 2022 adopted budget to establish a project in the ARPA fund in the amount of $102,000 to fund the project. Remaining projects to be funded by 2 projects previously established in the CIP fund, and to authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Policy 2022-01, approval of the Artery policy as presented at the February 3rd, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting, And item 2022-094, approval of a retroactive road closure on Ward Street for Saturday, February 19, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. as part of the work on the Windy Hill project.
Have a motion by Mr. Gould on this, seconded by Mr. Lindley. All those in favor, please vote. That's approved 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Masher. You have earned it tonight. Item 9 is ward and committee reports. We'll start tonight with Mr. Glenn Pickens.
Thanks, Mayor. No report this evening.
Mr. Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a huge thanks and I think a very proud moment for our city. Yesterday with the rededication after the long restoration project of Mount Zion Cemetery, I see some of our residents that were here are there yesterday. But a great moment, a huge thanks. Thanked them in pre-council, but for the record of our city staff, with Joe, Penny, folks in engineering and public works and community development to help assist, and a thanks to our colleagues up here for the commitment to get it done and get it done right. So thank you.
And thanks to former council member Anolowitz for starting that project, and thank you for bringing it over the finish line. Mr. Welch. Ms. Wilkinson.
Yes, I did want to address a couple of things that were mentioned at the last council meeting about the previous elected officials, and one of them was about the commitment to the cemetery and applying resources to the and the ownership for the city to take ownership of the cemetery, and that was also with Councilman Terry Anelowitz, and so I'm glad you mentioned her, because I've been thinking about that.
She started,
And,
she started that years ago, so it's very good.
Right, and then the other thing that was also started by the previous council, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is adding a line item to the budget for both the Black History Month celebration and the Hispanic History Month celebration, and that was done by the previous council. And also, I'd like to address some other comments that have been made by council members asserting that the cabin is in its current state of repair because of the previous council members' neglect. First and foremost, council members are not tasked with being building inspectors. We rely on our professional staff to alert us of needed repairs. It wasn't until this past summer of 2021 that the council received notice of the needed repairs. Since the city used Aunt Fanny's cabin in December of 2020 for its annual Meet Santa event, and it was still being rented out in early 2021, I think it's wrong to imply that the previous elected officials were remiss in their duties. Thank you. With that, I yield.
Mr. Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a few items, and first, a thank you to staff and to Councilmember Lindley and all the other folks in the council for really the completion yesterday and that whole ceremony. It was really a wonderful event, and I think symbolic of change that's taken place here in the city over the last number of years, and we look forward to that carrying on in the future. With that in mind, we completed the racial trust building training, racial trust building initiative yesterday, and really a wonderful program. We look forward to rolling that out to the community in the near future, and with the goal of building familiarity, trust, and lines of communication between groups of different ethnicity and racial backgrounds. It's a wonderful program. Tomorrow we'll have the first meeting of the committee to honor how to honor Fannie Williams, which Mayor asked me to chair. I'm pleased to do so, and we look forward to coming up, bringing forth to the community a number of different ideas. And Councilmember Dr. Wheaton will be with me in that committee, and we look forward to again bringing forth some ideas for the community to honor and carry forth the work of Fannie Williams in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Wheaton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few quick things, in vein of what we've been talking about with the celebrations of Black History Month, not just, in the month of February. One of the things I've always been passionate about is making sure we're celebrating year-round. And this year, because of COVID and because of some other situations, we have a really good opportunity coming up this summer, connected with Juneteenth, with a lecture by Erica Armstrong Dunbar on her recent book, She Came to Slay, focused on the life of Harriet Tubman. It's a really, really good book, and I'm really excited about her coming. She's somebody of really great, national presence, and definitely looking forward to her lecture and learning more about Harriet Tubman at that event. Also, just a note, congratulations for the upcoming high schoolers. Particularly, I know that a lot of middle school students right now are getting their announcement about magnet programs if they apply to those. So congratulations to those that are getting placed in magnet programs. And also high school, college applicants, some of those are coming up as well. I know a few of us have high school seniors, and there's a lot of tension and anxiety about that. So congratulations to all of them on the upcoming news. And finally, we've had an issue over in Ward 7 around the Buckner Road area with some downed trees because of some railroad track maintenance. This has been a really, troubling issue, really kind of, exactly at what point these trees got pulled down and who's going to come and take over the charge of cleaning them up. This has been a really good conversation that I've been able to have with Commissioner Sheffield and myself about how to move forward with that. And we've had good communication with our staff and with county staff and myself and Commissioner Sheffield on getting that process done. So look forward to some communication on exactly the plans for that. I know a lot of residents are concerned about that, and just want to relay that that's certainly on the agenda to be taken care of as soon as we can.
Thank you, Dr. Wheaton. So some of us have high school seniors, and some of us are dealing with first tooth losses, right? So, and we're not that far off in age, which just means that it took some of us a little longer to find our wives.
Blink of an eye.
And blink of an
Goes
eye,
fast.
that's right. Ms. Penny, you have anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Cochran? Kristen? And I know Heather already talked about the election. Item 10 is show cause hearings. We have none. Item 11 is citizen input. We have a few signed up. First is Miss Pat Burns, 10 Concord Road.
Good evening. My name is Pat Burns. I live at 10 Concord Road. I also have a house in Smyrna. Maya Angelou said, "History demands its wrenching pain, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived." The dream of a Fannie Williams Center for Reconciliation and Racial Harmony in the former sharecropper's cabin would be courageous. Reclaiming and telling the full narrative of Smyrna's racial complexities within the cabin walls would be an intense but safe place to continue the initiative for racial building begun by Mayor Norton. Alas, the city has been denying itself the opportunity to reclaim the cabin and change the narrative. It is book banning by bulldozer. The Color Purple, Beloved, To Kill a Mockingbird, Mouse, and Fannie Williams' Cabin. Ironically, just a block down the road is the oh-so-white Reed House, preserved to the tune of millions, and where some occupants were even avowed white supremacists. As Black history events unfold across the nation, Smyrna's celebrations are neophyte. In 2019, Smyrna's United Committee asked to have a Black history event. So recent as to touch the past, nay votes were cast by then Councilman Derek Norton and Tim Gould and others. Gratefully, their hearts have changed, and it gives hope to revisit the proposed cabin demolition. What's good for the Reed House should be good for the cabin. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but with courage can be changed and a full narrative told. I'm going to give you the premier historian, African-American historian in this country. His name is Brent Leggs. You may need his input as you work towards remembering Fannie Willis.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. I will disagree with you on the what you stated that that myself and Mr. Gould voted against Black Heritage Celebration. Never did that. And what you may be referring to is a budget consideration and timing consideration for Hispanic Heritage Celebration at the time. And excuse me, Ms. Burns. Excuse me, Ms. Burns. I'm finishing, and your time is up. And this is not a debate. Your time is finished, and I'm going to speak now. But that was not something that we ever voted against, and I don't appreciate that being stated here tonight. That's an inaccuracy. Next to speak is Ms. Lisa Casselberry.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to, as usual, Ms. Burns has a hard time with facts. The prior regime, which is the theme this evening, also is the one that sponsored and restored the Reed House. I want to make sure anybody that's watching this at home understands that that was not an action of the current government. As always, facts matter, Ms. Burns. Facts matter.
Ms. Casselberry.
Yes. Lisa Casselberry. I live at 2600 Noel Road, Smyrna, Georgia. And I want to thank you for yesterday. That was a beautiful celebration for the first time. Thank you. I'm here because we heard that people in Rose Garden, Davenport Town, wanted to save the cabin. We want Miss Fannie Williams to be honored with respect and dignity. Not that cabin, not even that chimney. Working at that restaurant was like working on a plantation. The waitresses dressed up as Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima's no longer on the serve. Waiters dressed as butlers. There's no longer Uncle Ben's. Blacks couldn't even eat there, not even out the side door. N-word used at workers. Grown men called boy. Having children read that menu was degrading. Passing by that restaurant when it was open, watching Mr. Jake stand outside parking cars, standing beside the porch monkey, the little lawn jockey with the black face, I can never take that out of my mind. And we know that that building was not put in the city of Smyrna for Fannie Williams. We know it was put there to keep the old South in Smyrna, and I take that as Confederacy. And you might as well hang the Confederate flag up, and the state of Georgia did away with that. I have neighbors and workers here. We just want Fannie Williams to be honored properly with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casselberry, and that is exactly what this council has moved to do and is in the process of figuring out how to best tell that story of Ms. Williams and memorialize her properly, and I thank you for your service on that committee. We look forward to great things ahead. Ms. Betty Williams, do you want to speak? Okay. Okay, just want to give you the opportunity. Is there anybody else out in the audience who'd like to come up and say a word?
But we're here.
Okay.
Thank you for offering others to come up and speak.
If you'll state your name and address for the record, please, Ms. Blackburn.
Mayoral, I'm Blackburn. I am a resident of Smyrna, Georgia.
Marilyn, it's hard for me to hear you. You might want to, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Marilyn Blackburn, a resident in Smyrna, Georgia. Let me say thank you to the council for the event yesterday at the cemetery. That was a beautiful service, and thank you for recognizing that. That's one of 2 historical places in Smyrna. The other would be the cabin. So after that yesterday, we had an opportunity to go over to the cabin and just what we're calling a circle of strength. So I want to share some words that were shared yesterday with you and just want you to ponder them and think about it. It says, we come now, particularly on this month, we set aside to honor the journey of Africans in America, yet have brought us through a way that with tears have been watered. Yet you bought us with women like Fannie Williams to guide and inspire us. You bought us with her tenacity and courage in the heat of racism. You bought us. And now we are here as Aunt Fannie's children, honoring her legacy. We pray that her memory will not be erased from these grounds. We pray that this building with its speckled past, will be repurposed to tell Fannie Williams' story and the story of Africans and Americans, thus inspiring future generations until we truly become one nation with liberty and justice for all. Let this work of preserving this building show us your greater purpose in our journeys. That's a prayer.
Anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? All right. If there's no other business to be brought before this body, we're adjourned at 8:54. Thank you.